Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael Romine, and this is the Houston Grass Podcast. We are a little early. It's only been about 3 weeks since we did this last. Usually we kind of target the end of the month, but we are taking the last week of November off for Thanksgiving. We always close down that entire week of Thanksgiving to give everybody a little time away and spend time with family and whatnot. So today has been our coldest morning. I heard the weatherman say that since mid-March, I think. We were in the mid to low 40s this morning. I saw frost on some rooftops, and I talked to my brother down at the farm, and he said they had a pretty significant frost, so we can all expect any Bermuda grass that's in our part of the world here to be starting to definitely change color. The thing about it in our part of the world here, what happens a lot, we get these early frosts and then it warms back up for a couple of weeks. Everything greens back up 100%, and then it kind of teeters back and forth. I mentioned Bermuda grass because it's always the first thing that turns brown. They'll all do that, but Bermuda grass is always the first one to brown off and start heading into dormancy, but it's also the first one that greens back up in the spring. So anyway, yeah, it's chilly this morning. I took my jacket off to do this, but it's still a little fresh in this office this morning. So, what we want to talk about this morning is winter and getting your yard ready for that. There definitely fungicide is what we're talking to most everybody about right now. We've got lots and lots of brown patch. Any signs of bugs and stuff like that are all gone right now, so we're really not talking about that. But we want to talk a little bit about how you need to be adjusting your watering schedule and getting that fungicide out if you haven't already done it. And we're kind of, fertilizer is kind of a moot point now. If you haven't already fertilized by the end of November with the fall special, you've kind of missed the window, which isn't the end of the world. And I would just wait until the spring fertilization comes around. When we get to late February, early March, we'll be needing to fertilize again. But hopefully you got some fertilizer out. If not, again, it's not the end of the world. But the first thing we want to talk about specifically is brown patch. That's the ugly yellow circles we're getting in our yard. I have seen a few of them appearing in yards. It's been happening for probably 6 weeks at least now. We're kind of at the peak of the brown patch season now, and it'll be around until the grass goes off totally dormant and quits growing now. So when you got the warm days and cool nights and some moisture, whether it's irrigating or rain, we have gotten a little rain. We ended up with 3/4 of an inch a few days ago. Farms getting a little rain, but I would say generally most of us are in some kind of a drought still. It's still pretty dry out there. It rained a lot in July and August, but it really hasn't rained significantly since then. It's a double-edged sword. The dry doesn't let the brown patch take off quite as much, so we're probably seeing a little less brown patch this time of year as opposed to some years past, because one of the three ingredients that brown patch needs is moisture to work with. So if you've got those yellow circles, they're probably active. The way you confirm that they are active is on the outer perimeter of those circles. You'll see the bright yellow grass, and you can pull it up real easy. The blades just turn a bright yellow. As the activity moves out, the active part of that fungus, the damaging part of that fungus, is only on that outer ring. The inner ring, it is where it's already kind of brown and hay looking off. That's already done the damage, and it's expanding its way out into the green. So anyways, that's how you know it's active. That's how you know you definitely need to get out some fungicide. Heritage G is what we sell and what we promote because we found it to be the best. The active ingredient in Heritage is azoxystrobin, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but we'll put it up there so that you know, because the reason I say that is because there are other products out there that have that as an active ingredient. For years, none of the big box stores sold anything that had that in it, but now they do. And the Heritage G, the people we buy that from, they have gone to only selling it in a 30-pound bag, and so it's expensive. It's over $100 a bag for that 30-pound bag, and granted, the price per pound is very good, and the fact that all you have to do is roll it down tight and keep it in your garage, keep it up off the ground, keep it dry, you can use it for a while. It will treat brown patch in the fall. It'll treat brown patch again that we're going to see in the springtime. Usually the season doesn't last quite as long for the brown patch in the spring, but it is there. And then it also treats gray leaf spot in the summer. So it's good to have on hand, but some people don't want to plunk down over $100 on it, and so you can find this in other, at least that active ingredient, in other places. So we are not trying to make $1 million selling fertilizers and fungicides and stuff like that. We carry those as a service to our customers. For years, this stuff wasn't available to consumers, at least readily available in the big box stores and stuff like that. So we started carrying all this stuff because we were trying to solve a problem for our customers, and still lots of people come to it. We sell a lot of the heritage, but we try to inform everybody and let them know what their options are. The best thing to do with the Heritage G is treat preventatively in mid-September. If you haven't treated with it by now and it hasn't shown up, you're probably not going to get it, but it never hurts to put out a preventative dose of that, because the thing is, if you're putting it out preventatively, it only takes half the amount of material. I think it's 1.5 pounds per 1,000 square feet, as opposed to the curative rate for it, which means I already have the disease, I already have the ugly yellow circles, and now I've got to put out twice as much, so I've got to put out 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. So I've mentioned that stuff's expensive. If you can get away with putting less of it out there, preventative maintenance is definitely the better option. So that's all I'll say about Heritage. One of the things about brown patch, though, is that brings it on is overwatering, and especially overwatering at night. If you're watering too much, the grass has started slowing down growing significantly. I'm sure everyone's noticed, if you're mowing once a week, whether you're doing it yourself or the lawn guys are doing it, I'm sure you've noticed that there's not, after 1 week of growth, it's not near as much as it was 2 months ago. So grass is slowing down, the days are shorter, the cooler temperatures, the cooler night temperatures put everything into kind of slow motion as far as the grass growth. And we're headed to dormancy, which is when the grass turns off brown. It's not dying, it's not dead, it's going dormant, and that's a lot of people ask that, so make that clarification. But yeah, if you can avoid and again, in fertilization too, excessive nitrogen and excessive moisture this time of year are what feed that brown patch. So if you can kind of take those ingredients away from it, obviously you can't do anything about the temperature. So do those things. And with the Heritage, if you do it, I believe it's either 14 or 21 days. Once you make one application, you're supposed to make a second application 14 to 21 days later. So keep that in mind as well. So we've talked about watering a little bit. Definitely pull your watering schedule back. The grass, we're getting into the time of year where, and we say for most of the year when the grass is growing and green here, so probably March through September, maybe October, you need 1 inch of water per week on the grass, whether it's falling out of the sky or whether it's coming out of your hose or your sprinkler system or whatever. We're getting really close to the time that is, if you get 1 inch every 2 weeks, you're okay. And a lot of the times the rain over fall and winter is enough to where you can shut your irrigation system off. It has been excessively dry, so I hesitate to say go and turn your sprinkler system off. I know that we got a good rain, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, and I shut mine off for about a week, but now here it is, I've had to turn it back on. And mainly I will say that's because I was seeing stress in my flower beds, not so much the grass. So for flower bed's sake, maybe you've got to water a little bit more if you've got a lot of stuff still growing, but for grass sake, I really think we're either already at or on the cusp of being able to cut that irrigation amount in half. So keep that in mind, that you don't want to waste water. You don't want to promote the brown patch. It's time to cut that water off, or cut the water back, and be mindful of the fact if we're getting somewhat regular rains of any kind other than just a sprinkle, we're probably, if precipitation will normalize a little bit. Usually my irrigation system, I probably turn it off second half of December, January, and February, probably late February, early March, sometimes even later than that before I turn my irrigation system back on. So no reason to waste water and do more harm than good. Be paying attention to the rains and whatnot, but don't overwater for sure. Another thing I'll mention here is mowing height. The temperature is kind of moderated a little bit, and you could cut your grass a little bit shorter in the fall. I keep my mowing height still at about 4 inches through the winter. I think it helps hold the moisture. If there is a freeze, it can kind of insulate those roots and stuff like that and protect them. So increasing that mowing height a little bit, if you did drop it down in the fall, is not a bad idea. So I think that's kind of all I have here for as far as things you need to be doing with your grass here. Now let's talk a little bit about if you're interested in installing grass this time of year. We get people have been calling here for 6 weeks. I hear the phone conversations and have asked, is this an okay time of year to plant the grass? It's absolutely a great time of year to plant the grass. Any time of year on the Texas Gulf Coast is a fine time of year to plant grass, other than, I would say, June, July, and August are probably the least desirable. We sell grass 12 months out of the year, so you can plant it all year round, but it's just you're going to have a higher water bill in those summer months, and it takes the grass is stressed a little more, so you kind of got to be paying a little bit more attention. The temperatures being as moderate as they are right now, it's a very forgiving time of year to plant grass. Even if the grass isn't growing, we still late November probably still have plenty of warm days where before the grass goes into full dormancy, you're going to get plenty of warm days to put down some roots. Is the grass going to root down 100%? No way. We're going to go dormant, and the grass is basically going to kind of lay there. We tell people to keep the heavy foot traffic off of it because you don't want to wear that grass down while it doesn't have good roots and it can't recuperate because it is dormant. So you can put grass out in the middle of January and it'll be just fine, but you need to know that it's just going to lay there in the block holding the soil in place that you've got down. And if I have an ugly place in my yard, I'm not going to hesitate to plant grass this time of year or all the way through the winter, because it would take a multi-day freeze event where the temperature stays below freezing, doesn't go above freezing during the day for several days to start harming the new grass like that. So it's really fine to do that. You just need to keep the heavy foot traffic off of it. The first day you lay it, you're still going to put lots of water on it because you're still needing to seal it to the ground. So you're still going to put that 2 inches of water on it the day you lay it. But again, this is a fine time of year to plant grass. Just know that we're headed towards dormancy, and that doesn't hurt a thing. It's just a natural part of how grass works. And basically, we tell people you're not buying pretty green grass from us in January and February. You're buying a root system, and it's going to come out and be pretty in the springtime. But if you just leave dirt exposed, say you bought a new house, got the backyard that needs grass, and you just leave the dirt out there until spring, you're going to end up with a bunch of weeds that you're going to have to get rid of. You're probably going to lose a few good rains come along, and you're going to lose some soil. It makes a mess. So cover that up, keeps the weeds away, keeps the soil in place. As dormancy goes, again, we've mentioned it several times, but the grass basically it turns off brown. It is not dying, and it's perfectly healthy. It's just what happens. Just like trees lose their leaves and whatnot, grass, all the grasses, by the way, there is not a grass that we sell, and I'm not aware of any grasses that stay green. If you see green yards and the Gulf Coast part of Texas, what people have done is it's called overseeding, and they overseed with ryegrass. They put that out there in a fertilizer spreader. It seeds, and I know out in front of a lot of neighborhoods and in the medians and stuff, you see them do that to keep the common areas pretty and stuff. But it will mean you're going to mow throughout the winter, and you are going to have to continue to water throughout the winter if you want green grass throughout the winter. We don't like it because what happens is in the springtime, ryegrass dies. It only survives in the cooler temperatures. So when we get to early May and we get lots of warm days, the ryegrass starts to disappear. But in the meantime, we've got late February, March, April. The ryegrass plant is competing for the same moisture and nutrients that you're trying to feed that, whether it's Bermuda grass, which is most commonly what you overseed is Bermuda grass, but some people will do St. Augustine as well. And so everything is jockeying for the same nutrients, and that's tough on your grass that you're trying to take care of there, the grass that you have the rest of the year. So that's the reason we don't like to do it. Unless you're just a big fan of mowing, you can avoid that. Just let that grass go dormant, and you can go 2 or 3 weeks without mowing, and really all you're mowing is a couple of weeds here and there that come up throughout the winter. So As we do get freezes, like I said, a lot of people call it, will the grass survive a freeze, especially when we see in the news that, hey, it's going to get real cold. Grass will survive unless it's a multi-day event below that we stay below freezing, and that's when pipes start breaking and all that good stuff. The grass, the St. Augustine, will be fine. It's not going to hurt anything. It is a good idea, just like they tell you, to water your plants before it freezes. Water them real good to kind of insulate those roots. The same applies for grass. You don't ever want to water during a freeze or real close to it, but if you can do a day or two before, get it good and wet. If it hadn't rained in a while, that's a good idea. So that'll keep some of the damage away. That is. Oh, I did forget to mention the leaves. A lot of people ask about if it's okay to leave the leaves out there. The only problem with the leaves is when they get so thick that they're shading out the grass. You do want to, so in the fall when we all start to lose all the leaves off the trees, it is a good idea to get those out of there as quickly as you can. A few days isn't going to hurt anything, but whether you take the blower or you bag them by running over them with the mower or whatever, it is a good idea to get those leaves out of there. And a certain amount of them you could probably mulch and grind up and let them lay, and they'd probably be fine, but you don't want to get a massive amount of those. If you're like me, I've got a couple of pecan trees and a couple of junk trees around here that lose a lot of their leaves, and they put a lot of leaves on the ground real fast, and if you leave those there, that's going to shade out the sunlight for the grass, and that would, and oxygen and everything else, so it's not a good idea just to leave those out there. So do get those leaves out of there. I'm seeing a few leaves falling, but I'm sure we're moments away, especially after the frost this morning, from seeing those leaves really rain down on us. So be on the lookout for that. So I think that's about it. We are closed the week of Thanksgiving, and then when we get to Christmas, we'll be closed Christmas week into New Year's too, and be back on the 2nd, I guess. Other than that, we will be here to answer your questions, and we will have grass available for sale if you need it. Call us if you have any questions, and thanks for listening.